So I saw the following on Reddit just the other day. Quote, I like ChatGPT more than I like my friends. Whenever I talk to it, it always gives me a nice answer. I'm on ChatGPT for 6 to 8 hours a day. Sometimes I think it understands me better than my friends do. Y'all, we are in serious trouble. Do you know that we as Americans put about 150 million prompts, over 2.5 billion entries into ChatGPT every day. And with teens, the numbers are even worse because teens use these things called AI companions or AI chatbots. And the research shows that about 70% of these teens have used AI companions at least once, 50% use them on a regular basis, and most concerning to me, over 30% say that their conversations with these AI companions are as satisfying or more satisfying than the talk with their friends. And it's only going to get worse as theropods are making their way onto our college campuses. Well, what's a theropod? Well, here's their marketing. Step into a beautifully designed pod designed just with you and an artificial intelligence therapist. No stigma, no judgment, and no bias of human interaction. When I was growing up as a teenager, I didn't have a theropod. I had a telephone. Did anybody here have a home telephone? Remember when that phone rang? When you got excited when the phone rang because it could be a boy or a girl you had a crush on. It could be a friend ask you to come outside to play. Could have been a crank call, a good old-fashioned crank call. But as a teenager, we were learning the power of human connection through voice and the telephone. But now, Wired magazine says only about 3% of smartphone usage is spent on the phone. And it's just going to continue to get worse. And my question is, how did we get here? How have these artificial intelligence tools usurped human relationships? And what can we do to create a relationship renaissance? Now, we've got scientific data to prove that relationships are backed by science. In 1938, Harvard University did a study with two groups, inner city Boston men and Harvard sophomores. And they studied them for over 80 years. And do you know what they found? The single most powerful predictor of lifetime health and happiness and longevity, it wasn't fame, it wasn't wealth, and it wasn't intelligence. It was the quality of people's relationships. A Harvard professor said it this way: good relationships keep us happier and healthier, period. Now, I've got a personal example of why that is true. Back around January 23rd, 2012, there were storms in the area in Trussville, Alabama, where I live. There was a lot of wind outside. There was a lot of rain. The tornado sirens were going off. James Spann had his sleeves rolled up, so we knew that it was serious. We heard the sirens. My wife and I got our family. We ran down into our basement. We were down there about 60 seconds before our pocket doors started shaking. And the pressure around our head just got really busy. And my wife yelled, "Cover the kids," because we knew that it had arrived. And when all was said and done, an F3 tornado came through and destroyed our home and the homes of all of our neighbors. But I don't want to tell you this as a story of survival. I want to tell you this about the reality of relationships, because I learned more about the power of relationships in those 48 hours than any AI tool could have ever taught me. Friends, strangers, neighbors, all coming to help us in a servant leadership mindset. Now, granted, my wife and I started building these relationships 5 years earlier when we moved from Orlando to Birmingham. We tried to make human relationships in our church and in our neighborhood and at work because we knew there was power in human relationships. And I'm telling you, our recovery time, if we did not have those relationships, both mental and physical recovery time, would have been a lot longer. So there is a huge power in the value of human relationships. And we want to take that and we want to think about it and we want to grow as people to make these connections with each other. When I think about relationships, I think about the word renaissance that goes with it. Have you thought about the word renaissance relationships? Well, when I think about renaissance, I think about the 1400s, Galileo, Michelangelo, all this stuff about renaissance. It's about art and science. But I think right now, we need a relationship renaissance in our country. I think we've lost what it means to connect with each other. I think all of our screen time and our phones and our watches, all of you have your watches and your phones, have made us lose what it means to be connected with each other on a human level. Now, don't get me wrong. I love ChatGPT. I use it at work all the time. It's helping me to be better and better and better and faster and more efficient. But I just worry that there's a segment of our society who may already be disconnected from, human interaction that are going down a really, really dark path. There was a study of about 1,400 college students, and they found a direct correlation between loneliness, depression, and the use of artificial intelligence companions. So what can we do? What can you and I do? What can we do here in Birmingham and across the world to start this relationship renaissance? And how do we do it? Well, it's very simple. We need directions, so we're going to follow a map. M-A-P. The M is to make the call. Y'all, pick up your phones and make the call. If you're at work and you get an email, call somebody back. If you get a text, call them back. You can do more with 2 minutes of talking to somebody on the phone than you can with 20 emojis or 20 texts or 20 GIFs. And when you make a phone call to somebody, what I think it does is it reminds them that you're starting or you're continuing to build a relationship with them. The A is for arrange a meal. I'm not talking about steak and lobster. I'm talking about a food truck. I'm talking about a coffee truck. I'm talking about a donut. Just getting together with somebody and say, hey, let's grab a quick bite together. There's something about dining over food. We're all in the South, y'all. There's something about dining over food that slows us down and allows us to reconnect with people on a really positive level. And then the P in MAP is plan to meet again. This is where I drop the ball, because I'll do this. I'll make the call. I'll arrange the meal. We'll have a great time. And then when we finish the meal, I say, we should do this again sometime. And they go, yeah, we should. And then we never do. So plan to meet again means you don't leave that meal until you say to that person, get out your phone. Let's do this again. Can we do it weekly? Can we do it monthly? Can we do it? Get it out and let's plan the second time. Make the call, arrange the meal, plan to meet again. That's how we can put ourselves on the map as leaders. Now, interestingly enough, Birmingham was put on the map in the civil rights era around 1963. 3 gentlemen, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, and A.G. Gaston. These 3 men were very different and not the same at all. Dr. King was the national voice of nonviolence protests, and that's nonviolence in general. Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, he was our fiery local pastor who didn't mind getting arrested to get his point out there. A.G. Gaston, he was the local businessman. He was wealthy, but he was pragmatic. He kind of enjoyed negotiation compared to confrontation. These men were very different when it came to style and substance. But let me tell you what they did do. They met. They talked. And just down the road, about 2 blocks from here, right next to Kelly Ingram Park at the A.G. Gaston Motel in room 30, these 3 men got together and used relationships to build a plan that none of them could do together. And think about this. They didn't have ChatGPT. They couldn't Google their way to a protest. They didn't have screens to talk through things. They met. They had one thing that they had. They had each other. They built relationships. They talked, they planned, they ate, and argued as well. And that's okay, because that's what relationships do. Y'all, human relationships are not easy. They're difficult. They have, tough endings sometimes, but I think of them as building. Relationships build tenacity. Relationships build courage. And relationships also could build a movement that can change the world. So here's my challenge to you today. If relationships can help these 3 imperfect men create a movement that changed Alabama and the entire United States, imagine what relationships could do for you in your personal and professional life. Let's start a relationship renaissance together. Let's make the call, Let's arrange the meals. Let's plan to meet again. And just like Shuttlesworth, King, and Gaston, we can move the needle forward together. Thank you all.